what's really going on. Awa no reira, tēnei te mihi ki a koe, Robbie, kua tau mai ki te whakawhiti kōrero e pāna ki ngā mea hono ki ngā mea e pāna ki te hākina ki ngā riki, anō reira nau mai, haere mai. Yes, so just welcome to our sofa, Robbie. Thank you for joining us. There's a lot of interest around your around your interview today, but yeah, definitely thank you for coming. And yeah, this is your time to share your whakaaro on rugby league and how you see rugby league in the north in Taitokeru.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just hand it over to you, a bit of your background and and stuff before we get into our set of six with Daus.
Nah, thanks for that. I'm looking forward to coming on the Matty John show. Oh, I'm actually. Wasn't sure if I was going to. Thank you. Glad you're Heine or what it was. It's good to be here. But yeah, I suppose just an introduction for myself. So I'm a Northland boy. Obviously see Rugby League Northland currently, and born in Whangarei, grew up out at Ruakaka. So yeah, spent most of my childhood out there until I was about 18 years of age. Happily married with 4 kids, and played takihiwa and a bit of waipu rugby for Union out there. When I was 18 years of age, what did I do? I was fortunate enough to make the Junior Kiwis. So down in the camp, Wairu with Jason Hitta, another Portland guy, and what that meant was we managed to jump on a tour to Great Britain and France. Yeah, so I think it was the last Junior Kiwi tour that ever went that way, so it was for 12 weeks on the road, so it was pretty special. Awesome. And then on the back of that, with my football, took me over to the Manly Sea Eagles. So it was early 90, end of 93, going into 94, so I was there for 4 years as a 19-year-old, which was a pretty special experience, just being a part of that club. Very successful club at the time. Out of the 4 years I was there, they were in the grand final for 3 years. So those were the times of, I mean, the team itself was the Australian team. Twos, the Lions, Posty, Dennis, Reggie. So it was pretty special.
Superstars.
To be, it was the Australian background. Yeah. I mean, living on the northern beaches.
The Edel brothers there as well?
What's that?
Were the Edel brothers there?
No, they just left, so Graham Lowe left, the Edel brothers had gone. So yeah, Reggie was your mainstay there. But yeah, it was special times over there at Manly, and like I say, they were in the grand final for 3 of those 4 years, and it was just the environment was pretty special. I probably could have ventured off to another club maybe, but because I played on the back of the scrum most of my time, at lock there, but that was the Australian background of Nick Kosef, Daniel Gartner and Steve Menzies. So yeah, it was just nice to tuck in behind him, so it was good. So I did that for 4 years, then came home, we had our first child come home, and when I got home, league had sort of probably died off a little bit by then. Bartercard had finished, the Warriors were up and running, and when you played at that level, you want to continue to play at that level. And unfortunately, it wasn't there in the league space. The domestic comp was gone. So I went and played Union. So went over and played Union for the Taniwha for a couple of years. And then shot over to Japan, did a year over there, playing Union. Came back and did 1 more year of Union, and then hung up the boots. So hung up the boots pretty early, and put a bit of time into family, and then got into a bit of pastoral work and business, so always keeping myself busy. But and then this popped up, this role in 2023 in May, and I saw it and I thought that I might have a go at it. I'd been out of the league scene for a while, so didn't realise where it was at. And then I thought it'd be a nice sort of synergy between sort of the community work that I'd done, the business work and rugby league, sort of professional background. So if I could put those things together, it's a nice fit. So had a crack at it and got it, Stepped into it and voila. Didn't know what I was stepping into. No.
That's awesome.
So that's me and my footy career in a nutshell.
That's cool. Nice, Robbie.
To tell off from Mr. Johnson, we're just going to run through 6 quickfire questions. So we want quickfire.
Quickfire.
Hit the music. Question 1. What would be your last meal if you're on death row?
My last meal?
Yep.
Chicken fried rice.
Chicken fried rice.
Interesting.
From the Great Wall in Whangarei. Got to be from the right place.
Right, your favourite NRL team and why?
I'd say the Warriors, purely because I want them to see a comp. Win a comp. I know what it means to win a comp.
Good answer.
It's got to be the Warriors.
No, Broncos for me, but anyway. 3 words that describe you as a person.
Thoughtful, compassionate, and focused.
Okay. Cool.
It's not the 3 you had down there?
It wasn't actually, but okay, your go-to song for karaoke?
Ooh, Ebony and Ivory.
Yeah, give us a line then. Give us a line.
Oh, come on. No, I can't do that. I wouldn't even know I should use this. Paul McCartney, actually.
Oh, cool. All right, are you a Ford or Holden man?
Ford.
Nice. Good choice. I got a range. Yeah. Man. All right, last question. It's a very important one.
The most important one.
New South Wales or Queensland?
New South Wales.
Oh, sure, Robbie.
And that's the interview done. Awesome, bro. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a big win for us, all right, in Rugby League in the North.
Yeah.
And the process was pretty seamless. I suppose one of the biggest challenges for us here in Northland is facilities. You know, really challenged to be able to provide a venue that can host, between 10 and 20 teams. So when we decided to jump in the championship this year, and the dates sort of fit around that early September mark, I thought, well, what's going on around that time? And one of the facilities that works for us was Kensington Park. Sort of our home, or whatever you want to call it, down in Whangarei. The Blue Goose sort of doesn't have the changing room facilities or anything. So Kensington Park was a good fit. So I just got on the phone and rang a few people around the park and the venue and things like that to see if it was available. And the junior rugby, who usually have it on the weekends, that they were dead finished by that stage, and the cricket hadn't kicked off. So I booked them straight away, and then sort of once we had those sort of locked in, I went to the NZRL and said, hey, we really want to host. We've got everything here. I think it's a really prime spot. Obviously, Pukefield down in Rotorua gets pumped, by a lot of tournaments. So it'd probably be nice to get away from the other. It's central, and I understand that the team's got to travel. But I thought it'd be nice for them to get up here in the north. So yes, I put a proposal to them, and it was pretty hard to refuse. So we had to go through a process, but it was a pretty simple process, I think, and they just got back to us and said, yep.
That's awesome, bro. Well done for that. Cause
we're stoked. I mean, I don't think there's ever been one. I'm not sure. I mean, it may have been, but even Tamariki or Rangatahi tournaments.
Wow.
I'm not sure how many of those we've held in Northland, if any. But definitely in that senior space. Because the seniors, when I was playing, was a week-by-week thing, even in the second division. And I think now in the championship, they're just trying to narrow it down a weekend for costs. So they're not dragging it out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so huge win for us.
Yeah, absolutely. That caps off kind of the growth that we've had lately in the last 24 months or so in Northland for Rugby League, from Whangarei all the way up with the comps in that. So that's awesome, right?
Yeah, it gives us a lot of credibility in the Rugby League space.
Yeah.
When you can hold a national or a North Island tournament, we're not just the hillbillies from up on the north of the bridge of Auckland. We can do it, and I tell you what, we're going to do it right. So it can open the door for those other tournaments in the future. I mean, I'm sure after this they'll look at us and say, hey, can we host future Tamariki and tournaments?
Robbie.
Also getting the women's up here with it as well. That's a good one as well. Our women have been screaming out for something for them in the north, especially in the rugby league. We've had a lot of women's stuff with rugby, but this is like that first kind of next level competition for our women as well. So that's good.
It's huge. I mean, like the women's game, obviously this year alone, we've been able to put on 3 extra competitions with our 14s, 16s and senior women. So that's been awesome. That wasn't there last year, and hopefully we can grow into some 18s in that next year. And we can see what that senior women's space looks like as well. But huge. I think I was having a bit of a laugh to myself on the way up. I'm thinking, well, why have things changed in the rugby league world? Because it has evolved over the last probably 20 or 30 years, where it was a male-dominated sport. And the guys were out doing the big beefy stuff, and our wahine were on the sideline with the kids. But I think now it's just a different story. Our wahine out there, the tāne on the sideline with the kids. So it's really made our sport inclusive. But it's brought its challenges now. It really has. But it's good. But there's more people playing our game. That's the main thing.
Awesome. And the opportunities for our wahine too over in the NRL as well, and all those opportunities they're coming up as well.
RLW this year. So that kicks off, and we've got a curtain raiser down there. Some of our girls are going to be representing it. I think it's FMG in Hamilton. Yeah, for one of the Warriors games down there. So there's plenty of opportunity, plenty of pathways, and we're already seeing. Sadly, some of our wani in the age group space with Kōtero are having to travel to Auckland just because we don't have those age groups here yet. We're sort of always in that transitional stage where we need the numbers here to hold them here so we can have good, strong competition. But if we don't have that, then, we're not to hold people back, from potentially going further. So, but it'd be nice to be able to do it from here. So, but there's pathways are there which are good, and they go with our blessing. But hopefully we can get them back and they can represent, hometown. Well, I think on the field we want to, we want to win. It'd be nice to win on home soil. That's definitely the big one there. But off the field, there's a heap of areas that are probably going to have big wins. I think probably the biggest is having whānau being able to watch. Traditionally they've got to head off elsewhere and it's a few days away and there's gas and all that sort of carry on accommodation. But to have it down the road. And obviously there was thought about, could we do it up here and things like that, but the way that NZRL structure these tournaments, it's got to be sort of one location. But having whānau being able to come down and to be able to watch, I don't know what it's going to look like down there, it could be a minefield, I think, there's going to people, but that's what we want, That's the joy of bringing it home, as we can have our local support.
That's awesome,
just
bro.
what we're here, just behave.
That's awesome. It's really cool.
But another big thing is their credibility across the rugby world.
Well, that's always been the hardest thing for all our teams in the north going to Rotorua, was the accessibility to that level of rugby league, and that getting the tournament here has made that accessibility. I was taking that accessibility away to watch these higher level games and tournaments for our whānau, because I know our whānau usually only go down for the last day or the first day. You can't stay there 1, 2, 3 the whole tournament. So now this gives our whānau in the north the opportunity to be there. The whole 2 days. Going crazy for the whole 2 days.
And the numbers too, like big crowds of your whānau turn up, and it'll only be good for the players up here, They really want to step up and showcase in front of their family and friends, and that's awesome. Yeah,
it'll increase participation, hopefully, There'll be more people that'll come to our code, which obviously is going to solve a lot more problems in the way of age groups and having numbers. So it should give us a real good boost.
Awesome.
If we do things right.
Awesome. That's cool, bro. Me and Robbie.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Definitely, a 3 team. We've got that tri series, which is just a 3-team competition. It's been structured really well this year. Nobody wants to be in that predicament though. The more teams, the better. And hopefully, in 2026 we can rectify some things there. Well, Whangarei districts obviously will be playing a role in that too, to elevate their clubs. There's plenty of former clubs and past clubs and around the traps down there, but there needs to be some work put in there to get them up and functional again. But I think it's probably a subject which is quite, which really needs to be opened up about rugby league, and why aren't people now committing to sport? We find that sort of drops off around that 18-year-old mark. Hence the reason we don't have 2 18-year-old competitions this year. So when it gets into that senior footy space, it becomes a bit more social, and you've got to give credit where credit is due, and the TRL have done that really well with that level of footy, having the 9 teams, because they love footy, passionate about footy, and want to get out in the park and just play. And rugby league potentially is maybe morphing into that a little bit, but obviously we've still got to look after the health and safety and have a few sort of regulations around it, unfortunately, but it's just some of the framework you need. But back in my day, like when we were playing second division footy, like I remember a mate of mine, Jason Mackey, he made the Kiwis from second division. But you won't find that now. You're not going to find people from our North Island Championship or National Championship making the Kiwis. Those days are gone. And that was a rarity back then. So that sort of senior men's and women level football, as much as it's competitive, if you're playing up there, and that's probably a horrible way to say it, but you're sort of just about partially used by the way of professional career. The real focus now is around that 13, 14, 15-year-old mark, with the Harold Matts, the SG Ball, and the Jersey Fleet Warriors teams. So that's where the focus is, and whether it's funding or whether it's bringing on corporate sponsorship or partnership, man, people, to be honest, they're not really too worried about the senior space. They're worried about the rangatahi and the tamariki, they're worried about the kids. So, I mean, and fortunately enough, we're very strong in that area of junior rugby league and the international grades. So that's a nice little safeguard, but still, they're going to want to aspire to be up in that senior grade too. So it's not taken away from it, but I think definitely you'll look at the focus of the game right across the board, and see where to, how do we work each area? There's that development stage, which is really important, but then there's the senior space, and what does that look like? What's the main drive of that? Is it to be professional? It's probably not now. It's probably more around the social and the whanangatanga, and all that side of it, which is really cool because that's where the community's built from. So it's a bit of a sort of a think tank needed, really.
What's our focus in both grades, rangatahi and seniors?
Well, unfortunately, we've got that academy now. So the academy means they can stay home. They can stay local. And that's with it being an association with the Warriors. The Warriors now have eyes through their pathways on all of these kids. And as much as they originally just wanted it in whangarei, like I made it a point to say no. We need to do this up in the mid north and far north. So Hitso, sorted out and worked out an agreement with Te Huku and the gym there, and also one in Kirikiri. So these kids that do come from the far north still have an opportunity to be able to go and use the resources, the same resources that the kids get in whangarei. With our team travelling up here to train in that academy space. But like you got here with your gym, you can prepare them a little bit better on their home soil before having to send them away. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of scouts out there, and all they do is cast the net and put 100 kids in the box, and don't do bugger all for them. And then 2 of them, 3 of them might get picked up later on and go all the way, and those are the ones that that get all the attention. So got to be a little bit careful because they sell a dream. Dreams are good, but sometimes pass it with the tracksuit and something else, and then the parents sort of jump on board and think the kids have got a direct pathway to the RLN.
They've made it.
It's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of hard work to be put in.
Correct.
Hard.
Correct.
No, you're right.
The senior spaces, New Zealand Rugby League got a lot of work to do there. We need a strong domestic comp, like the Q Cup, like the New South Wales. We need one here. The Warriors are supportive of it too, because they want to be able to have their players that don't start, fall back into that senior comp. And that senior comp then would actually be, if it was at a good level, would be a bit of a feeder to the Warriors, but it needs to be at a good level. And there needs to be a whole lot of putia put into it. And I know there are some sort of things in the pipeline, but that's a big downfall, I suppose, for where league is currently in New Zealand, is we don't have a strong domestic comp.
And that Barakat was awesome.
Similar to the
You see them on TV, you see the Warriors drop back down into Barakat, so look, Henry Fa'afili's they're playing for Mala, for the Manurewa, then he got dropped, but people get to play against them, and you see what's so good about him, that he can make it in Auckland. You see that face to face. So you're right, that we need that next level before the NRL feeding them back into those pathways. The New South Wales Cup and all of that kind of stuff.
It's a big cost, to be involved in that. And I think the NRL will be supportive of having a big comp over here, domestic comp.
Awesome.
It's been really great to see some of the teams, obviously, in the RLN competitions now. Purely because they want to play rugby league, and they've got to find a platform to play it in. But man, boy, it brings some challenges. Good ones in the sense of, it means that if there's a problem, we need to solve it. I mean, if you look at the long game, ideally, those teams shouldn't have to travel out of the far north to play footy, particularly the age group stuff. And juniors, I'd like to think long term that'd probably be something that would be run locally. I mean, you want to take your kid 5 minutes down the road to play a bit of footy or under 6s and under 8s on the weekend, not travel to Whangarei. It's just not feasible long term. But in the short term, it is what it is, and we're managing it because a lot of the teams from the Whangarei region want to play against teams from up here, and they want to have that opportunity, and vice versa. So we just got to deal with it, make it work, and see what comes of it. But the more we do it, and I think the more we sort of start to align, hopefully it'll open the door for opportunities that'll be more local. But I mean, like we bought the 2 years ago, I bought the Nines up here, that Nines series that was Whangarei here in Kirikiri. Purely just to give somebody again an opportunity and to play footy, because otherwise predominantly traditionally we were heading down to Auckland and playing Nines down there in the Sean Johnson and the Dean Bow. But it's sort of said, why are we going down there again? We're doing this feeding that thing, feeding the ARL and getting all the ARL get eyes on our kids. So let's do something local and see if we can grow the game here. So. It's cool, like I say, it's some cool things happening. We'll continue to do that, and I believe numbers will continue to grow.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but it's definitely an evolving area anyway. You just got to work with what we've got, But I can tell you, up in Te Tai Tukura, we have everything that we need. We've got the people, we've got the passion, we've got the players. It's just a matter about getting a little bit of alignment, and making it work.
I think at the start of this year we had a junior. Was that a Nines?
Yeah, they were the Nines.
At the top field, and it was just packed. It
Yeah.
was like the most people I've seen at a league in the North for ages, and that was just for our kids, and I guess, and they had both TRL, RLN working together. So for me, it's like that's the most perfect kind of state that we want rugby league in. Everybody working together, everybody looking at what's the best for our kids, what's the best for the competitions here. Because that was beautiful, that was a beautiful day. Just
it was a big day.
Massive.
I was up here sitting up in the dark and dropping the footy puppies off in the dark.
Yeah. So no, that was massive for our kids to see that, and definitely seen 2 finals here this year, up in Takao, and then just here in Awanui. I don't think we had many of those finals here. We've only really focused on our men, so to have our junior final here, and then our women's up in Takao, which was just as packed in every other game. Those 2 finals were beautiful.
Well, that's just evidence of the talent that's up here. Because at the end of the day, a lot of those finals are based on home ground at moment. And even at our Nines, it's a lot of the Far North teams that are taking out the grades, and I think it's fantastic. Like it's not a territorial thing. Where wins it. It's like, mate, kids out there playing footy. But if I looked across all of our competitions in the year, the majority of them would probably be Far North teams that are winning. I think it's great for the game. We can continue to do that. I mean, rather than doing that in something else.
That's right. That's right. Once we all win, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I think, like I say, if we go back to when I was playing footy, back in the dinosaur age of the 90s, we were, I think there was the Far North, there was the Bay, and there was Whangarei, and we would play off, and then at representative level, we would be Northland, and that would be our province, and we would represent as Northland. Obviously, there's 2 districts, or 3 districts. There's the Kaipara districts, there's the Far North, and Whangarei. And then you can sort of just get into the football space as well. You have the Whangarei City and districts rugby league, and then I'm not sure if they have actually if it's a legitimate entity of the TRL as being a district in a rugby league capacity. So there's boundaries all over the place, to be honest. And what, we need to sit at the table and work out what works for rugby league across Te Tai Tukura. That's the most important thing, because. I mean, logistically, we're challenged from, if you go to Te Kau, all the way down to, I suppose, the most southern would be Takihiwai. It's a long way to travel, and if we start to get into, speaking around formats and what the competitions look like, I mean, that's too far to travel over a season, And you can pull it off for a few years, but I think it's been seen that it's not sustainable. People lose heart, some of those bottom teams drop off, and then the whole guts falls out of it. So, I'm a firm believer that, if it is, and I mean, we've got sort of, I say, there's the TRL functioning now, and you've got the Whangarei City and districts down there. You know, if there were two competitions that played both in those areas, it'd take out the geographical challenges of having to travel. If they were to play around each in each of those areas, so they're keeping it close to home, whānau can support. And then, I mean, this is only my take on it. This is something that would, you know, needs to go on the table and be spoken about. And then at the end of that, you know, you get a top 4 out of each of the areas, and then you play like a super club series, you know, which would just be your quarters, your semis, and your final. And there you have it. You have the top club and Te Tokura. So it seems to make sense like that. We're definitely happy to facilitate that, but it also still means that both districts or areas have got their own autonomy to run their comps. So yeah, it worked like that. And I mean, obviously the thing that's come to light in recent times too is around that state of origin concept that's played out at the moment. Played tonight, I think. That's what we're talking about. But you know, the concept itself is great. I think it'd be a really good place for like a Northern Swords trial. I think it's just the discussions around it and how that came about. It probably wasn't the perfect timing. Concept is good. And like I say, you would then have the top players from the TRL, top from the whangarei. So you're not having to look right across all of the teams. And you'd be able to see them in the same place over potentially 3 games. So it makes a lot of sense. I think everybody wants it. It's just about, once again, just that alignment and making sure that it fits and everyone's on board with it.
Well, that's definitely that's what we're hearing on the ground from players. That the players want to play off against each other. You know, they want to know who's the best in their positions, and they want to. Everybody knows who's kind of the top centres, top props. They all want to go against each other. Like, okay, let's go. You know, I want to be top prop. You know, you know. And so on the ground, I know our players really. You know, that's their iron sharpens iron type thing. You know, that our players want to have a go against each other.
That makes a lot of sense, you know, and it's a good healthy rivalry. It's not an ugly one. Like, it's a healthy rivalry. We want to keep it that way, you know. That's where you're going to get, you know, your best players out of. Of course, they're going to look for that space, and you know, every game there's going to be something on it. Not that game, just the club game, because they're going to want to make their team. You know, so it is going to lift it across the board. So, but yeah, I think it just, you know, needs to be done with everybody on board. And I know you can't make everyone happy, but let's get the majority understanding, you know, how it's going to sort of pan out and do it properly. But I mean, hey, I suppose they're doing it anyway now, which is great. I mean, that's cool. I mean, the only reason we didn't sort of get on it or sanction it side of things was our local clubs. They were in a position where they were just trying to get through a season, so they didn't support it. So for us, you know, we had to take that sort of stance as well. But like I said, I think all clubs would probably be in on it if it was done right, done early, and they were aware of it.
A bit more organised.
And you know, put something on it too. You know. No, that'd be awesome. Put something on it.
That'd be good. Go to the Maroons anyway.
I don't know about the fun of Maroons.
Well, we probably just touched on it a little bit there. I think getting in at the table was probably the first thing. I mean, one thing that I did when I took the role in 2023, the first thing I did was contact Whangarei and City and Districts Rugby League and the TRL. Obviously our zonal area is from the Wellsford right up to the Cape, so that's our coverage, and we're the affiliated member from the NZRL. So obviously knowing those two entities or districts were operating, I wanted to sit at the table and have a chat with them and say, hey, look, you know, first things first. I mean, I know there's a lot of history and stuff, you know, has happened, but let's sit down and see what we can sort out. That probably didn't go to plan. I was never able to get to the table. I was, but my intention from day dot has been to honour, I suppose, that leadership and to invite them to sit at the table so we can discuss it. Still to this day, that hasn't happened, but the invitation has always been there, and it will still be there. I know I've seen all the historic stuff and the 50 pages of emails and things and understand all that. And I mean, some of the things on there just, you know, seem pretty straightforward to be able to iron out. But I think we need to get at the table, sit down and say, look, let's make this work. Because like I say, for most people, it seems pretty easy to sort out. But I suppose until you can have a korero around it, and really you're sort of banging your head against the wall. But I believe, like I say, that format is only one of many formats. I did sort of hand a format to the TRL to have a look at. It was only just a conversation starter. So really it's like we've got to be able to move on from there and start to look at the logistics of how can we make it work. Because, you know, there's good things happening. And like I say, everybody in rugby league circles knows that a united competition of some form up here is the best for our game. And I support that. You know, so it's just a case of let's make it happen. You know, I think there's a place for like I said, representative teams. That's maybe where the catch is a little bit. I mean, obviously the Northern Swords represents, or you know, all of Northland, and you know, and the TRL. You know, and obviously last year they were invited into the championship sort of thing, so they're also on the table in the representative space. But what does it look like for us, you know? And I think we've got to put some things aside potentially and just work it out and look at what's best for the game and what's best for the players and what do the players want. And if we can get that Northern Swords team back up in the Premiership next year, that's a televised competition that's run over 5 weeks. That's playing your Aucklands, your ARLs, your Canterburys, your Waikato's, your Bay of Plenties. That's playing the big boys. So to be in there is where we want to be. But we don't want to be in there half-cocked. We want to have the best players from right across the Taitokoro in there to be able to make sure that, you know, if we're going on the TV, man, we don't want to get whacked by 60 or 70 points. So, you know, and I believe we could take a competition like that out. I seriously do. With the right preparation and the right people on board. And, you know, we'd have probably a lot of input from past players to come back, you know. So, you know, and then but then obviously the question is, you know, what other teams also, you know, is there still a team in the championship, and what does that look like? Is this, you know, and then there's a team in the Māoris, what does that look like? You know, and just making sure that everybody feels that they've got a place in that, you know, without feeling that, you know, they're not valued or they're losing their mana or something along those lines. But we've got to look at what's best for the game, you know. But I think we can do it. I believe we can achieve it. Awesome. Like I say, it's there. It's just got to happen.
Just got to get to that table.
Just got to get to that table.
Pull up the chair. No, that's awesome. Cool.
Well, there's been good progress made in the sense of, you know, we've always offered support for the TRL with some of the administrative stuff, which has been cool, and I think there's been some steps made in that way with the TRL now, which has been good through the NZRL. And I know some of the crew there have come up and supported, so it's good. Like, I mean, you know, there's been good headway made. I think it's just, we've just got to say now, come on, you know, this is the time we've got to get to the table now.
Especially before 2026.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we need to sort this, you know, a few months' time. You know, I made a phone call last year in October, was told to make another one in Feb, which I did, sort of thing, because I was all about uniting this comp some way. You know, those things need to be done as soon as, you know, grand finals are all over. Representative seasons over, we need to sit at the table. Well, we could do it beforehand, but you know, we need to have it set pretty close to locked in before Christmas.
Sounds good to us.
Well, like to Christmas.
We're keen to jump on board too for media duties, post-game interviews for
well, it'd be a pretty solid comp.
You
know, I mean, even the nines. You know, I placed the nines at Kirikiri this year, so we can have all teams involved. It didn't eventuate, but that was the whole motive of putting it there. And you know, so, I mean, we still run coaching clinics up here. The Warriors Academy came up here nice and early last year. So, you know, there's always been reaching out, you know, to make sure that we're still doing what we can. We just got to line up the senior space, that's all.
Sure.
To be honest, I've got to be honest with you, I haven't watched the game yet. And a bit of the reason for that is, I suppose, because I've had a little bit of that dialogue, primarily with Dave, you know, being the chairman of the TRL, back into last year, early part of this year. And, you know, he was, and I know Dave's a passionate man about his footy, you know, he was pretty content where things were at with the TRL side of things and not having our involvement. So I sort of left it at that. I didn't want to sort of be the guy that turns up at the game and what's he doing here sort of thing. You know, so I was trying to be a little bit respectful in one sense, but also, you know, there's only so many hours in the week and I've got a family as well. I don't get out to as many games as I probably should. but, you know, I suppose the mahi aitu sort of thing sort of gives us some wins in some other areas.
Yeah.
So that, and our team's out there, they need more hours than they get paid, that's for sure. Team, when I came on, we had was myself, one Edmund, who's, she's full on. Wow. When I say she's not full on, her mahi is full on. Yeah, far out. So, and then we had 2 development officers, and we've increased to have a women's development officer added. So obviously got Corey and Louis, they know, and Pele's our women's development officer. I'm sure they don't mind me sharing their names. And most people in the administrative world would know Terry. So there's only 5 of us. And that's a big area to cover for 5. And don't worry, we get the emails and the messages about, you know what we haven't done, why we weren't there, or, you know, what we didn't cover. But, you know, when you think of rugby league these days, and you've got the social media side of things, you know, we're running 6 or 7 competitions, I think, you know, and then there's the schoolgirl stuff. But there's been some really cool things that have happened, like I say, with our with the academy, the association with the Warriors. We kicked off a schoolgirl competition this year. So there's been some real good sort of add-ons in the last sort of 12 months, just with having that staff. But they're up here a fair bit, you know, around the mid-north and that as well, as much as they can. So yeah, but it's pretty full on. So there's a team 5 of us.
Yeah. I see them across the road at the hub on Sunday. What was that, the under 14s or training?
Yeah, it was actually under 14s. So that's what I mean. Like, we're trying to do that because I understand, like, and it may have been a truth before, but, you know, I'm trying to debunk that when we have representative teams, you know, we train up here and we train in the mid-north and we train in Whangarei. So it's not all coming down to Whangarei. You know, and I'd see the same with any representative team we have. And I mean, even coaches and that, you know, we're getting coaches involved that are from the north, you know, in those representative teams. So just trying to keep it, while we can, or where it's at the moment, that we're making it as easy as we possibly can. But yeah, I mean, our team do incredible work. I support them 100% in what they do. But you know, there's 5 days of the week, and then Saturday and Sunday, you know. So I'm trying to give them days off during the week, but then, you know, there's stuff made to be done during the week. So they just, you know, some of them during the season, 7 days a week, 24 hours. The phone doesn't turn off at 5, you know. Yeah, so the phone's going full, you know, non-stop. So, but I mean, hey, they do it because they love it. So big ups to the team. Keep doing it. I'm sure they'll watch us.
Yeah, I think it's going to open some people's eyes, on like just, okay, like, just hearing your side of that kōrero anyway. So appreciate your time, bro, and awesome.
Yeah, and you know, I suppose it's funny from our perspective too to come up and say your side of the story, where you know, I hear what you're saying, but you know, it should be our side, you know, ultimately. Absolutely. And we just try to find where we fit in that. But there's, you know, the code's in a really cool place at the moment. You know, there's great things happening. I mean, and like I say, even with the like the academy has been a really big addition for us, particularly for our kids. We've had that many kids that have trialled in Warriors gear now over the last, you know, 8 months. Would have never had that opportunity. And a big portion of those are from up here. I think there's a couple more that have been added this week, I think, to that academy. So, you know, they have the opportunities, and even some of the talk, you know, of different kids, you know, and on the cusp of getting a contract down there in some of these junior Warriors spaces. Like, I mean, that wouldn't have happened, you know. So, I mean, as much as we're not a perfect organisation, I think we add a bit of value in some of those areas where, you know, with the relationship with the Warriors, with NZRL, we've got some good relationship with funders, so, you know, we can put some putia back into the grassroots. And we want to be able to do that, you know, as best we can. So, yeah, for those that need a bit of support in that, I could be opening myself to something huge here, but I mean, we're there, you know, to facilitate and to help support rugby league in the north. We'll do what we can, and we have our limitations, but don't be afraid to reach out.
Awesome, bro.
So just thank you, Robbie. I don't know if you want to say one last word to your whānau, or to your people in Whangarei, or to everyone.
Dave.
Straight down the barrel. Hey, Dave's a passionate man. We're probably watching this, Dave. I remember back in '92, I think it was, in the Advocate, there was a photo of me and Dave. You know, I was the young buck and he was the old dog, sort of thing. You know, it was a grand final, Morewa versus Takahiwa, which we were fortunate enough to win at Jubilee Park there. But you know, it's good.
Oh, so that's where the beef started.
No, not at all. Like I, you know, when I contacted TRL, I contacted Dave, you know, because I know he's got a heart for the game, and you know, I know he'll try to do what he can do, sort of thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, we've got to sit at that table, you know, and hopefully in 2026, you know, from our perspective, we can have like I say, if it works out that way, where we're playing in our regions. So we're saving a bit of puti for our whānau, and then we can have some super club thing at the end, and come together. You know, it's just all it is just that alignment, and it's just a little bit of framework around it. You know, like I say, there's that social side, which is cool, and we all, like I say, rugby league sort of going down that path, but we still got to have some of those, you know, regulations for health and safety. Because the last thing we want to see is, you know, one of our whānau get a head knock and then get another head knock and then something more serious happen, which has happened before, and then, you know, it's like, well, you know, that blood's on our hands, you know, so we've got to make sure that we do our best to make sure that you know, our game is played safe. We've got good referees in the middle that can adjudicate it. I mean, their first job is around the health and well-being of our players, not to find out who wins, it's to make sure that things are safe. So those things need to happen, but like I say, I think there's been some good progress this year with some of that administrative stuff. And it just means when we do things, we don't get caught out later on. Awesome. Yeah, but thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No,
pretty relaxed.
No.
I heard you guys are shouting me KFC.
No, go that way.
No, that's awesome.
Appreciate it.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, just thank you. Hand it over to Theo for that last.
The last extra. So again, thank you, Mr. Robbie Johnson.
Thank you.
And yeah, so this is Robbie Johnson. I'm Dwayne Johnson. And this is Johnson and Johnson. You're gonna find us on the front lawn. We're coming off the back fence. Yeah.